Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here. Today we are going to start a little bit of a mini-series. For those of you who don't know, the Smogon Premier League, or SPL as it's largely known, is starting up, and that means that my favorite tier, my favorite generation of OU is back in business in the official tournament scene. That's right, Black and White, the 5th generation of Pokemon, is back being showcased by some of the strongest players in the really entire world, honestly. Players like Solwind, Watashi, also known as FLCL, Dice, and then also some newer faces like Crucify and Marco P or Gilbert Arenas. Aloden is a veteran in the field. We got Starreal, who's another newer player. A lot of great players. And also I'm in the field. I don't know if that means I'm great or not, but it's really exciting to be part of this field and be playing, again, my favorite tier of all time. And I'm not going to be going through my games during the tournament for the sake of minimizing the amount of information I give out about my teams during the tournament. I'll go through them after the tournament. I'm going to try and upload them then. But since I've been taking kind of a backseat uploading, I haven't been as motivated lately. I've also been just super busy, tired. Work has been stressful, and for those of you who don't know, my real life situation has been really taxing lately. Just been going through some stressful times, but I think that Black White is a tier I know so well. I don't have to think about the content so much. I don't really have to make like critical decisions. I can kind of just analyze the games and almost tell my encyclopedic knowledge of the tier as I go through it, and I think that's really something that a lot of people find resourceful in the past and maybe will continue to do so in the present, and I'm excited for that to be the case here. So I'm going to try and bring all 4 Black White games that aren't mine each week for the next 9 weeks, and those will be most of my uploads. Maybe I'll do some SS videos, some other kind of casual videos in the meantime, but this is going to be more often than not a Black White channel for the next couple months, and then we'll shift towards more general uploading from there. If you guys want to see other tiers, let me know in the comments below. I do read all of them. I take them to heart. Mean them to me for real, and I'll try and cater to that audience, but for right now, Black White's definitely my primary focus. Anyway, we've already been through 2 minutes of me rambling, so without further ado, let's get into the first game. Well, I actually played my first game against Dice. I won't spoil the result. You could find it in the replays thread if you want on last Sunday, right when the thread went up, but this is the first other non-Finchinator Black White game between Watashi, a player who I have a great deal of respect with. I've teamed with him before. He's been one of the best NU players. He plays a couple of OU generations, ranging from Generation 5, of course, to Generation 7, 8, and so on and so forth. All in all, Watashi is a great player, but maybe not one of like the best of all time. He ranks very highly in my eyes, though. I think I put him as like 4th or 3rd or 4th in the field, and I expect him to go positive. Crucify, on the other hand, is a bit less of a known entity. Crucify is a really good player who dominated throughout 2021 in Black White, despite not really being seen as a conventional Black White main. Done so just through sheer outplaying. His team building maybe isn't as polished as someone like myself or Dice or Solwind, for instance, but his gameplay, his instincts are up there with the best of the best, and because of this, he made a run all the way to the finals of the recent Smogon Classic, which is, if not the single most competitive tournament, then one of the most competitive tournaments in all of competitive Pokemon each year. Crucify was really capitalizing on his Black White games in particular, which was one of the 5 formats in that. It's generations 1 through 5. All in all, I have the utmost respect for his ascent to prominence as a Black White player, and while I don't rate him as highly as Watashi quite yet, I think that absolutely can change with some team building polish and a greater deal of experience. Crucify is someone who right now I rank more 7th or 8th in this field, but moving forward, pivoting towards the future, I could see him easily going into the top half, if not this year, then next year. I have high hopes for this guy, and I'm really excited to see how Crucify plays. In fact, Crucify beat me in a tournament recently, semi-recently, within the last year, and definitely got my ass beat there, so I know that's no joke. And Watashi, of course, has beaten me and other very strong players in the past as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the game. So looking at the teams here, we see 2 Sand teams, and truth be told, the Watashi team, definitely not what I expected, and I think that's actually makes it a pretty good bring here. Just kind of makes the feel of an ABR or Solwind-esque balance team. Maybe even a bit more conservative than the teams that you see myself or BKC using on regular occasion, although BKC's doubled with these a little bit. Last SPL I used a team that was like this, but with Latios over the drill, and I think Verathlor over Skarmory. There are some changes. I think there's a Gliscor somewhere around there. The point is, though, teams like this, or teams like the ABR variant of this that kind of has a Gastrodon thrown in there, and I know someone's used some Jellicent plus Skarmsense as well. The idea is you get spikes up, and those spikes benefit the Psychic types of Magikarp a ton. In part because they don't take spike strategies of their own, but in part because their checks, would-be checks, we would rather say, things like Jirachi, things like Extros, things like Tyranitar, are taking immense damage from the checks to the point that they're no longer actually checking you. And this is a great strategy for Watashi in this matchup in particular because he's facing an X-Drill and Tyranitar. Moreover, he also has an X-Drill of his own to deter spikes from hitting Jellicent if it's not Air Balloon, and Tyranitar. And he also has Tyranitar of his own to dissuade other weather, potentially trap opposing Psychic types, and so on and so forth. Truth be told, in this matchup, the Tyranitar is not particularly helpful on Watashi's team, in part because Sand is already up for the opponent, but also in part because not only are 5 Pokemon on Crucify's team immune, which is pretty impressive in my eyes, but also there's no trappable Pokemon. You could argue like a Choice Lock Rotom could be trappable, but my instinct would be that A, it's going to be locking to Volt Switch primarily against this team, and B, the fact of the matter is that Choice Rotom on Sand is not very common, and in my eyes, not very good. Of course, that could be the start of Crucify's team. I actually do know, spoiler alert, it is, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but it wouldn't be something I'd expect at team preview. So overall, Watashi's most expendable Pokemon would be his own Tyranitar, actually. And if it's Rocks, although Rocks is trending downwards, you don't see Rocks on Drillaton, so it could be Rocks trying this matchup, which would actually be pretty good, because you could actually just use Tyranitar to get Rocks and potentially be a pivot. Switching sides, though, as we were touching on the Rotom and Crucify's team, which I'll switch sides so you can see it, is actually a pretty cool team. While both these teams, I feel, have a lot of good elements, I don't love how they match up against, like, modern weatherless offenses. For example, the Smurf team, the Garchomp, Volcarona, Breloom, Scizor, Starmie, Dragonite team, which we see ever so commonly, I think would tear both of these teams up, for instance. But aside from teams like those in the modern wave hyper offense, these are really good teams from like the 2020 meta, or even early last SPL, and perhaps they didn't expect either to bring that team, and that's totally fair. It's a risk you gotta take. And Black-White, there are definitely tons of risks you have to take both in the builder and as a player, so it's totally valid. I'm not here to criticize people for their own team building. Well, maybe I am, honestly, but I also understand you gotta take risks. I mean, I used a very risky team myself week 1, and it paid off, so I couldn't be critical. So looking at Crucify's team, though, I really like some of the elements here. Seismitoad is a super duper underrated Pokemon. It not only a hard wall as Rotom Wash, but also is a really good anti-metagame Pokemon. Able to force status with knockoff with Toxic or Scald. Knockoff is, in my opinion, close to staple status on it. Such a nice utility move in this generation. Protectless Leftovers, great. Refresh, really good for status. Can set Rocks up. Well, I don't love Rocks on it. Earthquake can potentially fit as well. Underrated Pokemon. Faces stiff competition from things like Gastrodon, but admittedly, on the right team, I think that Seismitoad is better. Maybe not 9 times out of 10, maybe more like 4 or 5 times out of 10, but Seismitoad definitely is, it's carved off a nice niche. Unfortunately, this matchup's not great for it. Psychic types kind of sit on it all day, specifically Reuniclus, and doesn't threaten much, so this is not the best match to bring it into, but it's not going to be a liability per se. You can still force some things, maybe knock off a couple things that could be super helpful. Especially when it comes to things like X-Drill and a Gliscor, fellow ground types, but play a bit more of a direct role. While X-Drill is an offensive menace, Gliscor can either be a stall breaker with a taunt set, or get Rocks up, or even just be a pivot in a Swords Dance sweeper, although I don't know if that's the case in this team, but truth be told, Swords Dance with dual trapping is actually pretty good here. If you're able to remove one of the Psychic types and then trap the Skarmory, then Swords Dance Gliscor can do pretty well. It could at least force things, which is helpful. Wait and see. Magnezone on Crucify's team, great pick for Skarmory here, should do well. And Tyranitar versus 2 Psychic types. The key for Crucify is making sure that you, at the very least, kill a Psychic, plus either get it in as fodder or get some more damage off from something with it. You gotta make a plus effort out of Tyranitar in this matchup, because nothing else wants to match up very well with Reuniclus, or especially Alakazam. So an accurate Alakazam would be very problematic if Tyranitar doesn't carry it some way. So you need Tyranitar to make sure it gets a kill in this matchup if you Crucify, and then, afterwards you can save it for fodder so you can get something else in. That's kind of, you need to get a plus match out of Tyranitar here if you Crucify to win. So because that's not assured, given predictions and spikes and whatnot, I give Watashi the edge. I think his Psychic types look really menacing, but it could go either way, of course. Gliscor plus dual trapping again is a good win condition from Crucify. We're gonna switch back to Watashi's side as it was there initially, and since I've already been rambling for almost 10 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and get to the game right now. As for leads, I expect Rotom Wash for the Crucify side. It's basically a free lead against everything. As for Watashi, honestly, I'd probably lead Tyranitar if it's Rocks just to get him up, because again, it's the most expendable Pokemon. Other alternatively, I believe Mold Breaker Drill would be a decent lead. If it's Thunder Wave or Strictless Flame Over Reuniclus, which I don't anticipate, it'd be a good lead. Otherwise, I'd probably just lead Tyranitar Rocks. Otherwise, Mold Breaker Drill if Mold Breaker, if it's Sand Force, then Jellicent's fine because it could sit on Rotom, force status and whatnot, and heal up. So yeah, let's go ahead and see what happens. Trinitar is lead from Watashi, unshockingly, and Rotomosh is lead for Crucify. Interestingly enough, here it's going to see Volt Switch for 12%. Doesn't really bring much to mind here. Rocks is indeed going to be to play from Watashi. So now Sidestone comes in, probably gets Rocks of its own. Watashi, showing how expendable his Tyranitar goes for the crunch there, not minding status or knockoff, which is fine. And interestingly, Sidestone is going to be forced up by Tyranitar, but Watashi, in fact, calls his Gliscor switch. Great play on his behalf. Goes for Reuniclus, which, again, I'm thinking is probably HP Ice, but if it's not actually as good a matchup for Reuniclus, so could have been just a mid-ground on like a Scald Burn for Watashi, which is fair as well, but it works either way. It covers both the bases. Gliscor gets its Poison Herb up successfully and would have forced Tyranitar up. Sure, it takes Rocks in the process, but those Rocks will be negated soon enough, so it's fair in my eyes. Protect here, exactly, just like that. Rocks negated. Focus Blast from Watashi doesn't say much about the set. It could be a Trick Room set, could be a Calm Minder, could be 3 attacks recover, which we've seen, could be something funky. We know it's Magic Guard. My guess is it's lefties at Life Orb at that point. I'd really have to see more, but I think that's a good play there, because Crucify was either going to protect if you stayed in, or hard switch out to something that would take a lot of damage from Focus Blast as opposed to Power Ice. Yeah. And now, predicting the Gliscor stay in, Watashi actually goes for Hidden Power, but that's fine because that still can't really touch you. He goes for Protect again, another Focus Blast. So sure, 2 Focus Blast PP is wasted, and that can actually be valuable against a team with a couple Protect users, but that's not a lot still. And Hidden Power Ice here again into Reuniclus, just making sure Tyranitar came in, it got a little punished at least. So yeah, Hidden Power there, Recover there. So yeah, at this point, Seismitoad's lost half its health, and it's not really done anything in his 1v1. I think this is definitely a net positive for Watashi, and I think that Watashi has the right to click like Focus Blast here. And he clicks Ice again, it's fine, it's conservative play. But I'm of the opinion that Crucify could make a little more of this Seismitoad if it has knockoff or Toxic Blast. Tyranitar comes in here now, interestingly enough, onto Hidden Power. Okay, so now here's where things get dicey, because as you recall at Team Preview, I mentioned that in order for Crucify to have a legitimate chance at like having the upper leg later in stages, winning this game, generally coming out of his SPL debut, yes, it's his debut, with the victory against Watashi, he needs to have a plus impact out of his Tyranitar. If that's not the case, then that means that the Psychic types are going to be too much, assuming Focus Blast ever hits. And Focus Blast is going to have to hit for the Tyranitar not to have a plus impact, so it kind of goes hand in hand. Sequences like this are going to go a long way towards dictating the game state, which, unfortunately, between Pursuit Crunch 50-50s and Focus Blast accuracy is a little bit of a crapshoot, but I think Crucify did himself a little bit of a disadvantage here. I'm not sure if I could say that, actually. No, I take that back. I don't think Crucify had a great play here, but the fact that before even entering the field and getting an attack off, not only are Rocks up, despite having a spinner, but also you've got to take another chip from Hidden Power Ice there. Now, all of a sudden, let's say that Reuniclus gets a Focus Blast off on Tyranitar. It leaves it at about, if it's Life Orb, which we're seeing it is because no leftovers, it leaves it at about 27%. After Rocks, always Oxen's going to kill it with a Signal Beam or a Grass Knot, and potentially other things as well. And that's also if it's plus special defense Tyranitar. If it's not, it could leave it at around 25%, especially if it's offensive Life Orb Reuniclus, which we've yet to see much. Hidden Power did a good amount to Seismitoad, but that's not all saying. We don't know the Seismitoad spread. Some are in special defense, some don't. So if it's even lower than that, then Hidden Power could take it out after Rocks. The fact of the matter is that now Crucify put himself in a position where he needs to win this sequence right now, or he's looking at a major disadvantage in the game. Whereas, unless Watashi comes away with absolutely nothing, i.e. stays in on Crunch or switches on Pursuit, and if he stays in also misses Focus Blast, this is a huge win for Watashi, so long as he doesn't absolutely lose the sequence. So because of this, Watashi actually wanted to kind of test the waters, figure out what he was up against, and he stays in on Pursuit. It's like, I'll just recover up and see what happens. Crunch won't do that much more than 50, and it's true, Crunch would have done 60 there. And now on another Pursuit, again, Crucify trying to get the better end here, he pursues onto the Focus Blast that breaks the Child Bear, and again, okay, so it's a defensive Life Orb, it looks like, given that damage. Which means it's probably, Calm Mind last, is my guess. I don't think it runs 3 attacks this. It could be T-Wave, but I think he would go for T-Wave first here, so yeah, I don't think so. And Calm Mind last with this set is cool because while Sub Tenta can stall you, Sub Tenta can't really touch Jellicent, doesn't love Encore Alakazam and Sand and Spikes and whatnot, so that's actually a good tech on a dual Psychic team like this. I think that's a great bring from Watashi, assuming that is the case, but we can't draw that conclusion quite yet, of course. Reuniclus is a pretty versatile Pokemon, but yeah, still, despite that, The Tar's now at 35%, and the Nicholas, which is supposed to be countering, is at 70%, meaning it lives a crunch, a pursuit, and a switch, albeit pursuit and a switch basically means it's dead. Everything's quicker than it and would kill it from there, but still. Just having that fodder, plus the fact that you would kill Tar if you got the turn wrong, is an amazing bonus. Like, all of a sudden, Crucify is, in my eyes, very far behind. This went from a 60-40, 65-35 game for Watashi to an 80-20, 85-15 game for Watashi in my eyes. Even if he gets this turn wrong and switches on the pursuit, which is the worst case scenario, because if he stays in or stays in on crunch and misses, even if that's the case, I don't find this to be like a really bad disadvantage for Watashi, because at that point, Alakazam, look at it. We've got a weakened Seismitoad, Rotom taking rocks plus sand, Tyranitar is in range no matter what. Magnezone, even if it's Chapel, is 2-hit. Extra Drill, worst 2-hit, and Gliscor, who knows, flips and HPS. Depends on spreads. Plus rocks, plus the potential for spikes in a spin blocker, Watashi set up late game really, really, really well. And I know I'm rambling a lot, and I have my apologies, but as a back white player, as someone seeing this game, you want to force the issue like Watashi did with this team. Yes, it's a balancing. Yes, it's meant to play maybe a bit more passively than things like Smurf, things like sweeper to sweeper, win condition, hyper offense, where one's breaking holes so the other can finish the deal. Sure, but in this case, Nicholas to Alakazam can do just that. You're not facing anything super good against it. And that's why Watashi's matchup was a little favorable to me. And that coupled with the fact that he got both 50-50s right, and to add insult to injury, he predicts the crunch this time, gets the drilling on that, and now it's a humongous lead for Watashi. Watashi got all 3 turns right, plus he hit his Focus Blast, plus the Pokemon he got in on the other side of the 50-50 on the crunch is a spinner. So now Watashi has a Rotom Wash, which lives any hit from Crucify's team unless there's like a Specs, Magnezone, Modest, Thunderbolt, High Roll, which I don't even know. I don't think that kills 68% Rio Nicholas either. So yeah, given that Pursuit didn't do half of its health right now, it did 28 instead of 64. Nothing kills it, so Rio Nicholas is for sure going to heal up. Tyranitar is basically dead. You just used your best Pokemon to get very little. And is that Crucify's fault? No, it's not his fault. Watashi got turns that were weighted guessing games right. And Watashi brought a team that was well equipped for Crucify's team. And that's where it is a big advantage. So now Crucify's got to play the game of his life to even have a fighting chance at winning this game. And it's possible, but Watashi might have to make some mistakes. So yeah, Extra comes in on that crunch there. Now Gliscor comes in here now. I'm not sure if it's going to be Spinner or Iron Head, but those are the only 2 options. Yeah, Iron Head's going to do 33. That means it's probably like a bulky Gliscor. But this isn't Mulberry, that's standard for. So it's probably also a defensive drill. And now the interesting part is here you sub. I'm a little surprised it's sub. And quicker than Gliscor, but I digress. Renicholas comes in here now, and yeah, again, unless there's a crit, this Renicholas is always going to live 2 Earthquakes, which doesn't fight the drill in. The drill comes in for the Crucify side, but now you're wasting a second Pokemon, which again is one of the natural Alakazam answers, and 87% Focus. See, this is Life Orb Focus Blast for Renicholas. Oh, sorry, not killing means that you would also live a Focus Blast from Alakazam. So that would have been one of your ways to break Alakazam's sash, so that you can revenge kill it later, which is super duper valuable in this matchup, except for the fact that that's now not capable of happening. Now suddenly Nicholas has taken out both of its would-be checks, would-be counters, would-be switch-ins, and Alakazam is still looming in back when it faces the same exact Pokemon, and that's not even with spikes being up. So you see the problem here? Now Crucify makes a really great play here, intuitive if you will, knowing that A, I'm behind, I gotta go for the flinch anyway, but also, if he ever goes Jellicent, I break that balloon, and that's the only way to go Jellicent after Earthquake happened last turn, and he broke that balloon, and that's huge, because all of a sudden, while Jellicent's not in Earthquake range now, or even Earthquake range after Sand, necessarily, it at least forces this issue later on. And Magnezone comes in here now, effectively getting momentum. Yes, there is a bit of a dilemma, but dilemma for Watashi as to how to switch into this. But keep in mind, again, while you don't want to risk drill on like a hidden power fire, especially for its specs, the Tyranitar there coming in, it's the most expendable member of the team, and it's an insane special wall. Would even live a Specs Flash Cannon there after Stealth Rocks, which is pretty impressive. So I'd say that Watashi is definitely using his priorities better than his opponent, perhaps. Again, I don't think Crucify made any blatant, egregious mistakes, but the advantage was favored from Watashi to begin with, and now Watashi is going above and beyond with these plays, getting a lot of turns right. And to make matters worse, there's going to be Pursuit on Magnezone, which is nice to get some chip on it. Helps potentially put it in range of Choppleberry Focus Blast. If it is Choppleberry, we don't know what set it is, truth be told. I think Scarf right now, but we'll wait and see. Anyway, so we're going to see Magnuson coming here now on the Skarmory, and that's a fantastic double switch there from Crucify, really capitalizing. And what happened basically was that it was Tar and Gliscor, because you bring the Gliscor into Tar, of course, especially if you don't believe it's Ice Beam, which I don't believe it is either. I don't think Crucify did either. So it's great. And now Watashi knows he doesn't want to let go of the Tyranitar quite yet. So he's got switch into Gliscor, coupled with the fact that again, it's expendable, but we don't need to throw it away against something that's not really threatening to us. So we might as well preserve it for the numbers advantage and the fact that later on it could be really useful to have that fodder turn to get something like Rear Nicholas or Alakazam safely. So switching at Tyranitar here makes all the sense in the world. Crucify's like, okay, what's he going to switch into? Well, there are a couple options here. First off, there's Skarmory, one of the better non-taunt Gliscor options in the game. Second off, there's Rear Nicholas, which can take multiple Earthquakes and then heal up, but that Earthquake, if anything crits, or gets like max rolls, that can get dicey. You don't want to go Jellicent here just because the chance of Toxic knockoff or Taunt. And its Tyranitar's already in, and Drill's not Balloon, so you pretty much want to go Skarmory. And Crucify, knowing that, makes a great play, risking his Magnezone into Tyranitar predicting it, and gets in on the Skarmory. Huge play there, and all of a sudden Crucify's got some life. Thunderbolt unfortunately doesn't kill there, which lets up spikes, which is definitely really good for Watashi, at least in the short haul, but the damage is still done. Magnezone actually takes the first kill of the game, putting Crucify in a 6-5 position. Tyranitar now comes in to revenge kill it. Gliscor comes in once more on it, this time on a crunch. I guess Watashi kind of going for a mid-ground, saying, okay, that's fine. Jellicent comes in here now, and Jellicent can't really do much of anything to Gliscor in this metagame. In particular because it's already statused, and this Gliscor could have Taunt, could have Toxic, and it actually reveals itself to be Toxic there as Jellicent recovers. So even if Jellicent taunts it or scalds it, which I don't even know what it has, it might be Nightshade, and it is scald. Even against physically defensive Gliscor, it's not going to do over half after the recovery at the end of the turn, and that's going to be that. I mean, we see Protect here as Rear Nicholas risks itself to dying to 2 Earthquakes after max damage comes in, which is great. Now Tyranitar is going to heal up from spikes, and Rear Nicholas recovers. Now we get the same 50-50 from before again. And once more, for the 4th time this game, Watashi gets that right. Really, really big play overall. Now Tyranitar comes in against Tyranitar, and it takes a crunch, and that puts it in Custap Barrier. And now Watashi is even further ahead in my eyes as the crunch kills Tyranitar, and that Custap Barrier definitely gives him spur of the moment advantage to Watashi as well. Now, as we keep going here, it looks very favorable to Watashi, in my opinion. Even with Skarmory dead, this Gliscor is the main thing that's standing in the way. But with Rear Nicholas that's immune to status, coupled with the fact that it has Life Orb and Bar Ice, that's pretty good, especially Tyranitar. Nothing can trap or punish it. Magnezone comes in to try to do just that, and while it might be a very strong option right now, it can only do so much, as Tyranitar is going to be used as fodder in this particular turn, leaving Magnezone with only one more switch in before it dies to hazards. This is going to invite in Alakazam, which just takes it out with Hidden Power Fireman, and that's not even going to matter. The fact that it doesn't have Hidden Power Ice is actually kind of telling. I don't know if Gliscor was considered a ton here, but you tend to see Hidden Power Ice in these teams. I guess with Rear Nicholas it's fine, but Rear Nicholas' Drapples, having both of them is kind of good in my eyes. But Hidden Power Fire helps a ton for the Scizor matchup. That's true. Overall, I think it's a fine choice from Watashi. We see the Alakazam take out the Seismic Zone finally, and Rotom is going to Hydro Pump the extra here. And now here's the thing. The Rotom is actually going to take Leftovers damage, and take Sand damage, which means it's not Leftovers. And that probably means it's Scarf, which A, means Jellicent could heal up, and B, is like, on Sand? Scarf? Really? A little bit old school, a little bit weird, but hey, you know what? To each their own. You could use it on Sand, of course. Personally, I prefer Pivot on Sand and Scarf on Weatherless and Hyper Offense and Sand and whatnot, but you know, to each their own again. Either way, we're going to see Jellicent come in here now, and it should be able to presumably soap up those all day, meaning that Gliscor is kind of forced in. Skull's going to take that out, and that's going to put us into a 3-2 position after it was 3-3 previously. And while Jellicent is very low, the Drill can come take it out still, at least. But that might very well be that, as the Alakazam comes out, and we already saw it's Hidden Power Fire, and Psychic should take it out from this range anyway. I don't know about the next one. I have to calcs, but long story short is Protect is going to fail there. Hidden Power, of course, is going to take it out from a mere 23%, and Rotom Wash can come in here now, and while it can certainly dream, ultimately, even if Hydro Pump does take out the Alakazam, it's going to need another connection and another critical hit against Rear Nicholas before it's too late. And thankfully for Watashi, the first one's going to miss, leaving it a full after the cover, and then the second one, while a crit would do a lot, it wouldn't kill. Watashi heals that up anyway. I'm not sure I understand that much, but Either way, I presume eventually an attack's going to come out. Another recover on another miss, which quite frankly is a little comical at this point. But now, finally, at long last... Nope, still another recover. Just kidding. Maybe soon? Nope, I guess not. I guess we're just going to stall out all the Hydro Pump until it struggles, which honestly probably is fine. Like, killing it is just as optimal. Like, it doesn't really matter, though. And yeah, we're going to see him struggle here, and that's going to be that. So, I'm glad that that's over with. I'm really excited to see both these guys play this season. As for this game, Watashi definitely looked a little stronger, but both players had good strategies, good teams, and really excited to see what comes next. Alright guys, be sure to let me know what you think of this type of video. Like, comment, subscribe. Hope you have a great day, good weekend. Alright, bye.